with my big trophy up here. Welcome. All right, everybody ready to begin? Notice is hereby given pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, Vernon's Annotated Civil Statute, Article 625217, that the city of Smithville will conduct a council meeting and public hearing on April 8th, 2024, p.m. at City Hall located at 317 Main Street, Smithville, Texas. Call this meeting to order. Pastor Michael Murphy with First Baptist Church, will you please come say the invocation? We have a mic so everyone can hear you.
All right, let's pray together. Father, indeed, it is a privilege to be able to have your undivided attention. That's how much you love us as your creation. And Father, when we call unto you, you not only hear us, but your word teaches us, you answer us. God, today we pray for our city. We thank you for the awesome privilege of living in Smithville. Father, we pray today that everything that God we might do, we might see, Father, you honored and you exalted and you lifted up. And God, we know we all have different thoughts and different belief systems. But Father, today as a community, we pray that you'd keep us close and that, Father, we'd always look for the betterment of our community. Father, we thank you for everyone that serves. We thank you for the awesome privilege of just living in this place. And Father, be honored in all that we do. For it's in that name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Allegiance. Next item on the agenda is a proclamation for National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Councilmember Janice Bruno, will you please
Yes, ma'am.
share with us?
Proclamation for National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week is from April 14th through the 20th. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services. And whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers and our firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Smithville Emergency Communications Center. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the city of Smithville have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and the city council of Smithville, Texas, declare the week of April 14th through the 20th, 2024 to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Smithville in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. Passed and approved this 8th day of April, 2024.
Thank you. The next item is a proclamation on B.J. Anderson Day, and he is present here tonight with us, and I'm excited for that reason. Mr. Benjamin B.J. Anderson was born in Smithville, Texas on April 15th, 1924 to Lee and Estella Anderson, and celebrates his 100th birthday on April 15th, 2020. Whereas he graduated from Smithville Colored High School in 1942. Whereas Mr. Anderson was drafted to the Army Air Corps in 1943, where he served in the 477th Bomber Group, which was supported by the Tuskegee Airmen and was honorably discharged from the Army in 1946. And whereas he married to Della Vine Martin Anderson, and whereas Mr. Anderson had 6 children, Tilda, Rogers, Bruce, Wilbert Anderson, Ben Henson, and Gerald Owens, and has 12 grandchildren, 23 great-grandchildren, and 21 great-great-grandchildren. His legacy lives on. Mr. Anderson graduated from the Chestnut Cooking and Baking School in Bastrop, Texas, where he established to provide training to African-American soldiers upon their return from military service, and prepared soldiers to work in the restaurant industry as caterers at the time when no other employment was possible in Bastrop County due to segregation. And whereas he later worked in the automotive repairman for 40 years for Ford and Chevrolet dealerships, retiring at the age of 62. And whereas Benjamin B.J. Anderson was celebrated as one of the 2023 Unsung Heroes by the Bastrop County African American Cultural Center. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and the city council of Smithville, do hereby recognize and declare April 15, 2024 to be Benjamin B.J. Anderson Day. Thank you for being here tonight. It's very special. Next item on the agenda, proclamation for Earth Day and Keep Smithville Beautiful. Councilman Jimmy Jenkins, will you please share with us?
Declaring City of Smithville support for Keep Smithville Beautiful and Earth Day, April 15th, 2024. Whereas the international community has celebrated Earth Day each year on April 22nd since 1970 to demonstrate support for environmental protection, and whereas earthday.org globally this year is coordinating a wide range of events connected to the theme Planet versus Plastics, which will be implemented in more than 193 countries and include over 1 billion people. And whereas the many volunteers associated with Keep Smithville Beautiful provides a number of events and activities that support Earth Day every day. And whereas Keep Smithville Beautiful was a leading partner in establishing the Smithville Recycling Center in 1984, together with the Methodist Men, the Boy Scouts, and the City of Smithville, and has worked on innumerable other projects, including planting trees, purchasing and planting benches, purchasing lampposts for Main Street and Spring and Fall Street and river sweeps. And whereas former Smithville Mayor Renee Bloschke was a founding member of Keep Texas Beautiful, and together with other dedicated volunteers established Keep Smithville Beautiful as a KTB affiliate in 1988, and in 1998 established a Keep Smithville Beautiful as a standing committee with the Smithville Area Chamber of Commerce. And whereas KSB has been a member in good standing with KTB since 1988, having recently achieved the silver level. And whereas KSB became a 5013C nonprofit in 2018 so that it would be eligible to receive grants for beautification and sustainability projects. And whereas the upcoming street sweep will occur from April 13th through the 20th in 2024. Now therefore, we, the mayor and city council of Smithville, do hereby recognize and declare April 22nd, 2024 to be Earth Day, Keep Smithville Beautiful, Appreciate Day.
And witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and cause the official seal of the city of Smithville, Texas, to be affixed this 15th day of April 2024. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, approval of the minutes from March 11, 2024 council meeting. We have any questions? Oh, Jimmy spoke and then I apologize. Jimmy,
Oh, sorry about that.
sorry about
She-
that.
She got ahead of me there. I was taking a break after
Thank
reading
you.
all that. Thank you very much. Okay, the update is we are now approaching 450 members to the recycling. The solid waste survey went out. That will end at the end of April. The results will be published at the May city council meeting. There's a lot of stuff going on with recycling. We're trying to move forward. We've got the new person that's picking up our recycling products. We're hoping that we get better money for them and that we have a cleaner recycling going on. We have a class Wednesday at the community gardens for composting. And on the I don't have it in front of me, but 27th, we have a class on just recycling. Composting at the community gardens. Lots of stuff coming up. I hope y'all get involved at the gardens. This is going to be a good class about how to keep your food waste out of your solid waste and putting it in the trash. So please come to that.
Thank you. Sorry.
No problem.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I guess I saw his name and skipped over him. I apologize. Okay, now the next item.
Mayor,
Oh.
may I ask Councilman Jenkins a question, please? About how much money have the memberships raised to date?
I'm going to say they're between 30 and 35,000.
That's incredible. Great
Yeah.
work.
Thank you.
Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
A motion's been made and second. All in favor? Approved. Next item on the agenda, we will retire into executive session, and the city council will hold an executive session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 Government Code, Vernon's Texas Code annotated, in accordance with the authority contained in Section 551074 to discuss personnel, evaluation of the city manager, progress toward year 24 goals and objectives, and approval of performance-based incentives.
Mayor, can I make a comment? City Manager, do you mind if I provide a little bit more color as to what happened at the last meeting when we came out and announced? So the public will know what they're able to comment on when we come out of this executive session?
Color on, sir.
Okay. At the last meeting and the last several meetings, you may have noticed the council's adopted a little different format for periodically reviewing the performance of the city manager relative to some objective performance goals. One of the comments that came out of the last session that the mayor announced was that we would be discussing publicly at this meeting the possibility of creating a performance-based cash bonus pool for the city manager that would not happen this year, but would be contemplated in the next budget cycle. So that's reflected on this agenda, but I would like the public to know that when we come back out, there will be a period of open comment where you can make any comments about your thoughts on a cash performance-based pool for the city manager.
All right, they hit you again. Y'all cool enough, warm it up temperature wise?
All right.
That's the fastest executive session of the history of executive session.
We've had the slowest, we've had the fastest on this council.
All right, so then. All right, everybody, we're back.
Nice form, wasn't it?
All right,
It is. Thank you.
hello,
Let Jennifer, give Jennifer some time.
come on, guys. Discussion and action as a result of the executive meeting.
Jennifer, can you call it up? Thank you.
The council has been working the last 7 months to create a standardized and repeatable evaluation procedure of the city manager that can be used by us and future councils. It includes the setting of goals, quarterly reports, day-to-day operations, and a compensation package when goals are met or exceeded. The city manager's eligibility for equity incentives will be calculated using the average weighted source of all ratings from city council members and the mayor, and will reflect attainment of identified performance-based goals and objectives. Any funds that are not used or allocated for this purpose will be returned to the city's compensation pool. Is anybody signed up to speak?
Subjectives. There it is. Rating scale.
In the rating?
Rating scale from 1 to 5, 1 being good, 5 being.
And then the rating scale is visible up here, but we can get you a copy if you need it. It's on an overall rating of 1 to 5. And different stretch goals will be met for him to be compensated. She's speaking to this gentleman right here. I'm just waiting on Jennifer.
Yeah.
Okay, so no one signed up to speak. Okay, council, discussion? Mitch? Did you want to say something?
No, I'm good.
I'm fine. Just wanted to make sure that we gave the public a chance.
Thank you. Tom? All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept this.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we go ahead and accept the proposed performance-based equity incentives for the city manager. The city manager's eligibility for equity incentives will be calculated using the average weighted score of all ratings from city council members and the mayor, and will reflect attainment of identified performance-based goals and objectives per the following rating scale, which is overall rating 1 to 5. 1 is exceptional performance exceeds expectations. 2 meets and sometimes exceeds expectations. 3 meets expectations. 4 sometimes meets expectations, or 5 does not meet expectations. The city manager's cost of living adjustment COLA, merit, and/or equity incentive will be funded in next year's fiscal budget. Any funds not used or allocated for this purpose will be returned to the city's compensation pool.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made in second. All in favor? 1, 2. Approved. All right. So then you-
8.
Say it again.
You're at number 8.
Thank you. Now, at this time, we're at the general public comments. Jennifer? Thank you.
The first one I have is Bailey Matheson.
Madam Mayor, would you please make sure everyone understands how this works in terms of the comments that they make, but we will not be interacting? Rules of procedure.
Time, members of the public may speak or not. Those wishing to speak form and present it to the city secretary prior to the meeting. Speakers are limited to a 3-minute and conduct themselves in a civil matter in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. The city council cannot take action on items not specifically listed on the meeting agenda, and discussion is limited to statements of factual information, statements of existing policy, and/or a proposal to place the subject on the agenda for a future meeting. All right, Bailey, state your name and where you live, please. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the first time I've attended a council meeting, although I've watched a handful online within the last couple of years. What brought me here tonight is the proposed resolution of preserving historical character downtown and all of its recent chat. Start over. Oh, okay. In all of the recent chat about growth in our sweet town. It has really sparked my interest in becoming more involved in learning how I can help shape the growth that is inevitably coming. Please forgive me if I misspeak because this is new territory for me and very out of my character. So I did my best to do my homework today to learn kind of how all this works and how it's connected. When I read there was a proposed resolution to the chain businesses coming to downtown in efforts to make sure our downtown remains untouched by the commercial look, I wondered about what other ordinances are currently in place for existing downtown merchants. One that stuck out to me was the ordinance in Chapter 3, Article 3.08, the occupation of sidewalks by merchants, that basically states a merchant cannot occupy more than half the sidewalk, and upon closing time, the goods must be cleared. It also states that permits may be approved in the case of a special event, sidewalk sale, etc., or the city manager approves the situation. To my knowledge, this was last updated in 1987, and I have not seen a permit posted anywhere for these businesses to have their goods on the exterior of their business for extended periods of time, let alone stacked and leaning against exterior walls of their business 24/7, creating a trip hazard or nesting place for small varmints. My goal in addressing this specific issue is not to step on any merchant's toes or draw attention away from other important items that need addressing. And to some, this may seem very minor, but to me, a connection was made between potential growth, the proposed resolution of preserving historical character that I fully support, as well as current ordinances not being enforced. It also made me wonder how many other ordinances are placed as simple as this, but not being enforced, or how many are outdated to the needs of our town currently. If we want our downtown, our town as a whole, to be the home of more businesses, chain or locally owned, all businesses need to be held accountable now with ordinances that are in place now, so that citizens will have the faith in our leaders that new ordinances will also be enforced the same as growth happens. If something as simple as keeping sidewalks free of goods after hours is not being enforced, what keeps an ordinance on a larger scale from being enforced? Will our representatives be bold enough to stand up and uphold new ordinances in the face of larger businesses wanting to come to our town? Smithville needs to take control of the growth that could benefit our town as a whole by enforcing what is currently in place and updating ordinances to meet current needs before the growth takes a hold of us. What you allow is what you continue unless a change is made. I fully support smart, clean growth, the resolution to protect our historical character and keeping our downtown untouched by the commercial look, as well as supporting the enforcement of current ordinances that keep our downtown tidy. In that's time. Okay. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, may I ask the city manager if there are any comments regarding any of the facts that were stated in terms of current ordinances or prior ordinances?
In December timeframe, it could have been January. I've slept since then, or haven't slept. The ordinance was modified to allow business owners and merchants to put their wares in the sidewalk as long as there were 4-foot. They were compliant with the ADA compliant rules of 4 feet. So that ordinance was modified. Where'd you go, Bailey? There you go. Yeah, in December or January timeframe, and put back on the books to allow chairs, planters, wares and such. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Then the next speaker I have is Dax.
Getting into part two, if you didn't see part one, that was last week or last month's meetings. So this is a reading from the history of Smithville as presented on the website, corroborated against some other documentations on the website. Oh yeah, Dax Haverlack,
Thank you.
779 Peach Creek. So many buildings
Can you repeat the name, please?
Dax Haverlack. So many buildings constructed during the booming 1890s to 1930s still stand as a source of pride and sometimes additional income for the flourishing filming industry that was Smithville. As you know, Hope Floats was released in 1998, followed by a near decade-long hiatus where filming ceased to exist up through the filming of Beneath the Darkness, released on January 6, 2012. Time has quickly moved, and in the 15-year hiatus from those two movies that highlighted our scenic neighborhoods, so I hope within my lifetime, Smithville has another chance to film another movie. Plays, concerts, arts, films have long been a long tradition here. The Smithville Opera House was built on Main Street in 1893. It burned to the ground in 1928. Together, the Playhouse Smithville, located at Old Charlie's on 110 Main, carries on the fine tradition of community theater. That playhouse has since closed September 4th, 2023. In the future, like phoenixes from the fire, Smithville's art and film history is going to rise again with the support, financial aid from those outside of our city, just like it was when it was first created. Smithville has been fortunate throughout its history to attract forward, stalwart, industrious men and women who continue to pave the way for a fine city and an inevitable quality of life that was privileged to enjoy today. So history has been very kind to those who have been passed, as per written on the website. I don't think you're going to write nasty things about the old council members, the old city managers, the old establishments. But this is also the present life for mine and several others. So as a neighbor, as a resident, ETJ, unincorporated taxpayer, the whole line up there, I aspire to learn more and understand the reality of Smithville more as its foundation, the quality of life and privileges that it grants to each of us. Part of that, the last month and a half, the website's been stitched back together. A lot of the brokenness is no longer there. And hopefully within this meeting about talking about the preservation of historic Smithville leads to more identifications. If you attend Bastrop's authentic Bastrop meetings, they're trying to discuss the same thing about what makes Bastrop Bastrop, what makes Smithville Smithville, and how code policy has to be revised, sunset, made updated to actually be actionable. So I think that was pretty good. I can't wait to see the website grow, see the city grow, and see more things happen because y'all make it happen. Thank you.
Can catch his
Amendment.
address. I'm sorry, Mayor.
9 Peach Creek Road.
Peach Creek. Thank you.
Peach Creek Road. Thank you.
Next one of the odds. One of the odds. Yours
Ah.
like down, so we're on 2 minutes down. We're all neighbors.
Are you coming back? Are you coming back next week? Next month?
Possibly.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Next, I have Lance Schreiner.
Please state your name and your address. Thank you.
My name is Lance Schreiner. The address is 801 Northeast Tiger Drive. And I'm simply here to come out in support of the preservation ordinance. Simple as that. I'd like to make sure that we do try to keep as many big box and chains out of the downtown area as possible and preserve the beauty and the treasure that Smithville is. Simple as that. Thank you.
Next on the agenda?
Robert Patello.
Please state your name.
Robert Patillo. I live at 606 Short Street here in Smithville, Texas. Any other information? Yeah, I keep forgetting, you know. Okay, so I'm up here regarding waste management and recycling management. We've been circulating, I and several other people, the St. Vincent de Paul people have also been circulating the same petition, plus their original version of the petition. It's evolved somewhat, and also I just recently put it on Nextdoor, and so Right now, I have 147 signatures on the petition. And basically what the petition is asking for is to switch from pickup, twice a week pickup to once a week pickup.
I'm not certain, excuse me for interrupting, we'll give you some time back. I don't think they can hear. Could you please try to turn the microphone or get closer? Because people online can't hear, and even in the back.
Okay, can you hear me better?
Better, guys?
Okay, so the
Thank you.
objective of the petition is to convince you all to switch from twice a week pickup to once a week pickup, which would cut the contract in half. We also feel, and I disagree with some on the council and even one of the contractors, that it's impossible to use or not feasible to use the overhead loading trucks on the streets, not the alley. I understand the alley. The alley is, and that the alley is what's mentioned in the letter from Waste Management. So overhead loading trucks are used in this city for almost a half of the garbage pickup in the city, at least a third. So we want that done. We want it picked up with overhead trucks. We also want recycling to be included in the contract with the garbage and not handled by the city, because it is a total waste of city's effort and money and our tax dollars. It is the most expensive recycling process, minus the 35,000 that you say you've collected, is the most expensive recycling process in 6 counties on a per capita basis. It works out to something like $17.20 per citizen if you count the number of citizens as 4,000, roughly 4,000 people here. So what we want to do is we want to go from twice a week to once a week pickup of garbage. Most people really appreciate the leaf and limb, so we don't really want to mess with that. We also feel that the $10 hidden tax really needs to be put back in the general budget as a real estate tax, because that's really where it should go, instead of on the garbage fee, which people that are on fixed income and have limited ability to pay the extra $10 on their garbage fee, they're having trouble just paying the garbage fee even without that $10. So from that standpoint, you've got 147 people already that have expressed that desire to make this switch. And we have more and more people asking to sign the petition as they find out about the petition. We've also encouraged them to fill out the survey. So hopefully at the end of the month, of this month, we will have a good turnout of people who are going to be telling you the same thing I'm telling you. So that's basically what we're asking for. We want to go once a week instead of twice a week.
Thank you. Oh, yes, sir.
I can leave this petition with you tonight if you like. I don't know if that's.
I say keep it with you, and then we'll get, because you maybe need to update it, okay?
Okay.
Or do we want
So
to
we
add
should
it?
get it, should wait until it's updated and then give it to you, or go ahead and give it to you now? We can give you additional petition signatures as we get them. Keep it.
Keep it.
Keep it. I understand that
Thank
that
you.
you don't even have, even if we got everybody in the city to sign a petition, you don't have to put it on the agenda. We would like to see this on the agenda for next month.
Next item. Next
That's all I
Mayor,
have.
question
this
for the
item.
city manager, please. Any of the facts that were presented there in terms of overhead use or other things that might need to be clarified?
Certainly, a couple of things. Petitions as a rule for general law type A cities don't force anything to go on the agenda. However, we have to provide a medium or a forum for you to express your concerns. And that's we've done with open mic night. This is going to be an item on the agenda in May, once the survey results are published. And we're also going to have Waste Management come in and give you an update as well. Okay, that's the first thing. Regarding the front load, for recycling, the Waste Management trucks are side load recycling units. So as Mr. Patillo said, they can't go down the alley. They would have to go in the front of your homes where it's accessible. About 45% of our homes do have curbsides where you could put your garbage can out or the recycling can out. The other locations either have cars or there's just not any space in front to do so. And I believe, Mr. Patillo, that's what the February 2023 letter was expressing regarding the recycling pickup. Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. Next item on the agenda. Recommendations from planning and zoning and developer on the following have A through F and planning. Chair. Lead us on number.
Yeah, so
Oh, Kenny Sargent was one
my
of them.
first meeting as chair, and I will say it was one of the most lengthy meetings I've been a part of to date. So bear with me. Hopefully I can get this all across to you on a manner that's acceptable. So on A, on a zone change from single family dwelling district SF1 to highway commercial C3 Burleson, block 30, the north half of lot 7.096 acres, property owner Pivot Endeavors, agent Troy Stroyer. We had 3 neighbors speak against this zone change, stating concerns of hours of business and potential noise and traffic.
Garrett,
Sorry.
will you hold that thought for a second? We have one more speaker and I apologize.
Yes.
No,
Yeah, Ms. Sargent submitted her form in advance, but it didn't get in the pile. So
I apologize.
name and address and why you're here.
Will you speak into the?
Name is Carrie Sargent, and I live at 110 Northeast Second Street. And right next to the coffee shop, sandwiched across from Honey's and the taco place. So right there. Flowers 4 feet apart. So people can walk. I haven't been here the last 8 years during the whole year or anything, but anyway, coming back. LED lights, beautiful, can be beautiful. A little bit harsh, and in front of my place right now, they're coming on before dark and going off later in the morning. So they're on in the evening until early in the morning, and they're super, super bright. So my understanding is that with LED, you can adjust all of that stuff. That's why you get LED is you can lower the harshness, and I think maybe make the timing less so that it's not polluting the air or polluting the skies. Today, coincidentally, with the eclipse, went out to watch and placed it up because I guess it's on a photo sensor. So lots of light, and I don't think it's really necessary right now. And I would like to see if somebody can tweak that a little bit, make it more welcoming, really. It's just kind of harsh. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Sorry, we
Sorry.
didn't- All right, come back down and start over.
Agenda item A, on the zoning change of single family dwelling SF1 to highway commercial district. 3 neighbors spoke against the zone change, stating concerns of hours of business and potential noise and traffic. One neighbor, the one that adjoins the property and was the previous owner of the property, knew what was it was sold for and was told up front what the plan was, and he was okay with this plan. The property owner spoke and addressed some concerns and what he stated are misconceptions that this was to be just a bar. It's a family-centered restaurant, he said, for all to enjoy an outside atmosphere. This zone change would help them have parking for the establishment. The board unanimously voted to recommend approval for the zone change from SF1 to commercial. Any questions on that one, or good to move on?
Part B.
Agenda item B on a replat, Burleson Edition Block 30, Lot 7, east 86 foot of south half, and Lot 8, east 86 foot, and the north half of Lot 7.096 acres. Property owner Pivot Endeavors, LLC, agent Troy Stroyer. One neighbor spoke and questioned the property that was behind this one, where there's some apartments or something that are there. Did not really pertain to the specific line item. And then another neighbor spoke with concerns of moving further into a residential area and kind of the effects of what that would or wouldn't do in the future. The board discussed the Texas House Bill shot clock and had no specific reasons to not approve this. The board unanimously voted to recommend approval for the replat. Questions on that one? Line item C, or agenda item C, on a variance request for rear yard setback of 8 foot instead of 10 foot. Burleson Block 30, Lot 7, east 86 foot of south half, Lot 8, east 86 foot, and the north half of Lot 7.096 acres. Property owner Pivot Endeavors, LLC, agent Troy Stroyer. No neighbors spoke on this agenda item. The property owner answered a question on why, stating he was hoping to put a 2 foot longer patio on the back of the building, making it 8 foot from the fence versus the required 10 foot. One board member asked if it would pertain to the newly platted property or just the original property, with the answer being that it would pertain to all, since we had already voted to approve recommendation of the replat. The board voted 3-1 recommendation to approve the variance from 10 foot to 8 foot. Questions? Agenda item D, on a variance request for a masonry wall, additional design setters to use a wooden fence as an equivalent noise attenuating barrier. Chapter 14, Part 2, 2.2.10.D3, Burleson Block 30, Lot 7, east 86 foot of south half, Lot 8, east 86 foot, and the north half of Lot 7.096 acres. Property owner Pivot Endeavors, LLC, agent Troy Stroyer. Two neighbors spoke to recommend that we still require the rule of a masonry fence or the equivalent noise attenuating barrier. The property owner spoke about concerns with building a masonry fence and the existing century oak tree that is on the property line. The board voted in a tie and has no recommendation for this agenda item. That was a 2-2 tie. And I didn't state before, P&Z board member Poss did abstain from voting on these because she was a property owner in the area. So there was, the tie was the 2-2 with just 4 of us being up there able to vote. I totally understand why she did that. Agenda item E, on a variance of off-street parking and loading. Parking in front yard setback line, chapter 14, part 3, subset 3.5.1.H.2, Burleson Block 30, Lot 7, east 86 foot, south half, and Lot 8, east 86 foot, and the north half of Lot 7.096 acres. Property owner Pivot Endeavors, LLC, agent Troy Stroyer. No comments from neighbors. The property owner stated that if approved, it would give him 2 extra spots, and if not approved, they could lose up to close to 11 spots for parking. This would be approval for the use of parking spots that have been spots for every previous business in this location. The board voted unanimously to recommend the approval for the variance of off-street parking in the front yard setback. Questions on that one? Agenda item F on replat of Eagleston Block 11A, lots 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and part of the 7th Street right-of-way, property ID 17-842, 17-845, 17-848, and 17-851. Property owners James Nolan, Gilbert Brown, Monica Boss, Doris Sampson, City of Smithville. Agent Bethco Engineering, City of Smithville. One property owner spoke and was in favor of this replat, stating that he just wants to move past this situation. He asked in the meeting for assurance that it was going to be done correctly this time, and that assurance was given by city staff. City staff helped the board's understanding by filling us in on the original plat being incorrect, and this was an effort to get it corrected so no neighbor was encroaching on another. The city gave up some right of way to get this corrected. The board voted unanimously to recommend approval for this replat. That's all I have. Y'all don't have any questions? Thank y'all.
Will Mr. Stroyer be speaking?
We're going into public hearing. If anybody signed up, do you want him?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions for him.
Do we have anyone else signed up to speak? Okay. Come on down.
How y'all doing today?
Introduce yourself.
Troy Stroyer.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Thank you, Mr. Stroyer, for coming up. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me this weekend and give me a full explanation of the intent of the project and the various variances coming forth. The one question that I had after we spoke, and you gave me the intent of majority of the things you're asking for is to increase parking to prevent overflow parking from going onto the streets of the neighbors. So as a comparison and kind of a visual for me and others, how many spots do you have at Pockets right now as compared to how many spots you're going to have at the new establishment?
At Pockets, I think I have 19.
19?
And at the new place, there'll be 24.
Thank you.
All right, feel free to grab the mic so you don't have to keep bending down. It comes out. There you
Thank
go.
you.
This ain't karaoke.
I can walk around, huh?
Oh. Take away the
You're
mic.
giving me a
Okay.
stage.
Janice?
Maybe you can explain how you're gonna, with this wooden fence that is being proposed, how you're gonna get around that century-old oak tree.
Well, with the wood fence, so that's the issue. Like, with my issue with the masonry fence is this oak 24, I mean, it's century-old 24 diameter tree sits directly on our property line. So issues of, I mean, talking to some arborists and doing some research on my own, if you cannot necessarily build a footed wall up to a tree, recommendations are that it needs to stay within the drip line of a tree, which is basically the diameter, the height of a tree. So in that sense, it would make no sense. Also, issues of, the tree is still growing in a sense. So any root issues would continually push up the fence and the footings of itself. So our doing the wooden fence gives us a lot more options. We can easily put footings of a post. We can maybe put 5 feet from the tree and we can cantilever and we can build up literally right up to the tree. So, that's our concern. Also, unfortunately our neighbor, Mr. Knippa, he couldn't be here. He had to work tonight, but he stated he does not want a masonry wall. He prefers a wooden wall himself. So, and that's kind of been our discussion this whole time. Excuse me. And, we feel, in the application that we're doing that it would be, a more effective and a more efficient fence. And, Councilman Jenkins and I have discussed this of doing a double-sided on the planking to create some kind of a air barrier between it to help with the sound control.
Thank you for that explanation. Appreciate it.
I too appreciate the time you spent. It is double-sided, the wood fence. That's what's,
That's what's planned,
Thank you.
yes.
And it has foam in between?
No, there will be no foam in between.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions?
Just a question for the facts and asking the city manager, and I consider Councilman Jenkins to be a subject matter expert on this in terms of the physical properties of the wooden fence versus the masonry. Does it meet the same noise attenuation characteristics?
I don't think it would meet the same, but it will make a lot of difference by having boards on each side. Because with boards on one side, there's air gaps. Sound just goes straight through. With them on both sides, it's going to hit, it's going to bounce back some. Any that gets through will bounce back in between. I think you're going to get a lot less noise that way.
And also some of the members that I did meet over at the property, the actual building, the back end of the establishment itself will have a fence around it itself. So that's basically, this fence is the fence between the building and actually the parking area. So this is just the
There's
parking
another
area.
fence.
Then this is the other fence that we're discussing right now.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I did have an opportunity to go look at the tree. So,
yeah,
yeah, I
Thank
think,
you.
yeah, my opinion would be a wooden fence to where you could do something with that, not damaging
protect
that
it.
tree and protecting that tree.
Right.
So
Thank you.
thank you for really
Thank you.
studying.
Appreciate it,
I
guys.
have one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Just an ask, and I'm not asking you to do this. I was just wondering if a metal pole in front of it, I sure don't want a car, somebody to just hit it, put their car and drive instead of reverse and go up against it, because you're going to have parking on that side.
Right. It could be it just depends on the dimensions. We're cutting it close, but I mean, and that's another issue with the wooden fence. It's much easily repaired. Picking
Yes.
a plank, if someone should pull in and hit it, as opposed to a masonry wall. I mean, that could just,
Yeah.
it could damage a car. It just, the repairing of it could just be a prolonged issue. So yeah.
Another option would be curb stops.
Curb stops, yes, sir. Those will be there, yes, sir.
Those would be nice. Some blinkers on. Okay.
Gotcha.
Anybody else got
Anything
questions?
else?
Thank you again.
Thank you, guys.
First, anybody signed up? Okay, so then go ahead.
Gonna go into the public.
Public, yes, we'll go into the public hearing and we have citizens signed up to speak.
Sandra Maxwell. My name is Sandra Maxwell. I live at 304 Bishop Street, basically across the street from what the gentleman was just speaking of. I live in a neighborhood that's very quiet. There's 5 homes on our block. 3 of us are elderly and retired. One of them's a rental and one of them's just over middle age. None of us really wish to have a bar in our neighborhood. You get the noise, you get the traffic, you get the parking. The gentleman that just spoke was talking about the parking beside his building, which is when you get a big pickup, you're not going to be able to park it in that area. When picket fences was in that building, we had cars parked up and down our street, either in our yard or out in the street where people couldn't drive by. And so this would be no different. We like our peace and quiet. The people who live with their back to the alley, I've spoken to one lady over there, got to know her very well, and she just is so against this because of the constant noise until 11 o'clock at night. Old people like to sleep. I can tell you that because I'm retired. And we don't need that kind of noise. Plus all the trash that comes from a restaurant or bar, plus just the noise and the people, the kind of people I know, Smithville, I know a lot of people in Smithville. And I do hang out at Charlie's Bar. I don't drink, but I hang out there. And I know the things that go on there. And I don't want that in my neighborhood. So I'm going to ask you guys to not approve this. And please make that, if they want to put a diner in there, great, but no alcohol. Please keep us safe in our little quiet neighborhood. Thank you.
Next person,
All I have for the
public.
comment.
Okay. Okay. I will close the public hearing and go back into the open meeting. Council discussion and action on A, an ordinance for a zone change from single-family dwelling district, SF1, to highway commercial C3 Burleson Block 30 for north half of Lot 7, 0.096 acres, property owners Pivot Endeavors LLC, Agent Troy Schrewer. I have some comments.
So, colleagues, from my understanding, this isn't just a bar, this is a restaurant. The way I think it got explained even to P and Z, that this is going to be a restaurant with probably some screen TVs and so forth with, yeah, they are going to serve some alcohol in there, but it's going to be a family type atmosphere from what I understand after talking to Mr. Stroyer and also listening to what P and Z had presented tonight. So as far as a zoning change from single family to commercial, I'm going to I can make a motion or we can discuss it, but
Anybody have
I have no
anything?
problem with that.
One comment. I frequent Pockets. I think it's a great little place to have lunch. And I have the lady that owns the old, I guess she still owns it, the old Bohot house that just backs up to Pockets. They have never made, that I know of, a complaint or anything else about noise or anything else with a restaurant that Troy owns. He keeps his restaurants good. He keeps his people under control. I think that would, I don't see a problem with this.
Well, we also have a noise ordinance. So if, we keep in with the noise ordinance, I don't see a problem.
Question about the history, and again, I'm going to direct it to the city manager because he loves me to do this. It was brought up at the planning and zoning meeting, and I did attend. One of our historians was there. It is on P and Z. Was, when the loop was built, was it entirely zoned as C3 in the beginning?
It was not, when the ordinances went into effect, everyone that was on the loop 230, were offered C3 zoning. There was a period of time with which the property owners could get with the city and revert back to SF1, but the intention of the people who held all of these seats before us was to make that commercial. So there are sporadic sections along Loop 230 that are SF1 and not commercial. This is zone commercial.
Excuse me, the original intent was at that point then for the corridor on both sides of the loop to be commercial.
Yes, sir.
Garrett, if I got this right, we had 5 items associated with this ownership and this project. 3 of the 5 were unanimous, 4-0 votes. 1 was supermajority 3-1, and then the one with the masonry was a 2-2 tie. Did I recount that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think it is important to all be reminded that, we put together planning and zoning, we staff it with qualified people. There needs to be, in my mind, a compelling reason to go against a recommendation.
Any other comments? Janice? No, you want to make a motion? Oh, wait, Tyra, go Tyra.
Madam Mayor,
Go.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the ordinance for the zone change for a single-family dwelling district SF-1 to highway commercial C3 Burleson Block 30 of the north half of Lot 7, 0.096 acres, property owner Pivot Endeavors LLC, Agent Troy Stewart.
Motion has been made and second. All in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5. Approved. Next item, on a replat, Burleson Addition, Block 30, Lot 7, East 86 of South 1/2, 8 East 86 of North half of Lot 7, 0.096 acres. Property owner Pivot Endeavors LLC, Agent Troy Schrewer. Council have any questions? Entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the replat Burleson Addition Block 30, Lot 7, E 86 of South half, 8 East 86 of North half of Lot 7, 0.096 acres. Property owner Pivot Endeavors LLC, Agent Troy Sure.
Motion made and second. All in favor? 1, 2, approved. On a ordinance for a variance request for the rear yard setback of 8 foot instead of 10 foot, Burleson Block 30, Lot 7, East 86 foot of South half of 8 East 86 foot, and the North half of Lot 7, 0.096 acres. Property owner Pivot Endeavors LLC, Agent Troy Schrewer. Council, do you have any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve variance request for a rear yard setback of 8 feet instead of 10 feet. Burleson Block 30, Lot 7, East 86 foot of South 1/2, Lot 8, E 86 foot in the north half of Lot 7, 0.096 acres. Property owner Pivot Endeavors LLC, Agent Troy Stewart. The variance is not contrary to the public interest. There are not any special conditions affecting the property. The spirit of the ordinance will be observed and substantial justice be done if the variance is granted.
Second?
I second that.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor? Approved. D, on an ordinance for a variance request for masonry wall additional design standards to use a wooden fence as an equivalent noise attenuating barrier, Chapter 14, Part 2, 2.210.D.3, Burleson Block 30, Lot 7, East 86 foot of South half of 8 East 86 foot, and the North half of Lot 7, 0.096 acres. Property owner Pivot Endeavors LLC, Agent Troy Schrewer. Council, you have any questions?
One moment, and this just says use a wooden fence. I would like it to read double-sided wooden fence.
Okay.
Mayor, I'll make a motion.
Will you put that in there?
I will. Mayor, but we approve variance request for masonry wall additional design standards to use a double-sided wooden fence as an equivalent noise attenuating barrier, Chapter 14, Part 2, Paragraph 2.2.10.D.3, Burleson Block 30, Lot 7, East 86 foot of South half, Lot 8, East 86 foot, and the North half of Lot 7, 0.096 acres. Property owner Pivot Endeavors LLC, Agent Troy Struer. The variance request is not contrary to public interest. There are no special conditions affecting the property, and the spirit of the ordinance will be observed and substantial justice be done if this variance is granted.
Motion been made and second. All in favor? 2, approved. We're on E, right?
Yes.
On an ordinance for a variance for off-street parking and parking in the front yard setback line, Chapter 14, Part 3, 3.5.1.H2, Burleson Block 30, Lot 7, East 86 foot of South half, 8 of East 86 foot, in the north half of Lot 7, 0.096 acres. Property owner Pivot Endeavors LLC, Agent Troy Schrewer. Council, do you have any questions? Make me a motion.
The mayor, I make a motion on a variance for an off-street parking and loading, parking in the front yard setback line, Chapter 14, Part 3, 3.5.1, H2, Burleson Block 30, Lot 7, East 86 of South 1/2, 8 East 86 and the north half of Lot 7.096 acres. Property owner Pivot Endeavors LLC, Agent Troy Stroyer. The variance request is not contrary to the public interest. There are no special conditions affecting the property, and there's no unnecessary hardship caused by the special conditions.
Second.
Motion been made and second. All in favor? 1, 2. F, on a replat for Eagleson Block 11A, lots 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and part of the 7th Street right-of-way, property ID 17842, 17845, 17848, 17851, property owners James Nolan, Brown, Monica Rose, Doris Sampson, City of Smithville, Agent Bevco Engineering, and the City of Smithville. Council, we have any questions? Entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the replat for Eggerston Block 11A, lots 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and part of the 7th Street right-of-way, property ID 17842, 17845, 17848, 17851. Property owners James Nolan, Gilbert Brown, Monica Paz, Doris Sampson, City of Smithville, Agent Bevco Engineering, and the City of Smithville.
Second.
Motion been made second. All in favor? Approved. Next item has been pulled from the agenda from Singleton. Clark could not make it here tonight, so number 14 will be at a later date. Item number 15, discussion and action on a resolution authorizing the submission of the Texas Home Investment Program application to the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs and participation in the home program, HRA, PWD, disaster reservation agreement, and authorizing the city manager to act as a city executive officer and authorizing representation in all manners.
Did we skip the audit
Yes,
item?
can't be here.
Yes.
Yeah, Singleton and Clark were unable to make it
I'm
tonight.
sorry. I'm
Yep,
sorry.
yep.
That's the one I wasn't paying attention. I thought it was 13.
No, you're good.
Thank you.
Okay, take it away.
Okay, council, approving this resolution will allow the city of Smithville to continue to participate in the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs Home Grant Program, which will authorize me for any and all matters tied to the home grant program. This is something we have to do every 3 years, and it will allow us to participate in this wonderful program that's built 23 homes here since 2003.
Yes, I agree. Anybody have any questions?
I know we just did a briefing on this about I don't know, 3, 4 weeks ago, when we had about 30 folks here and we were describing this program. Do we have folks right now that have started to make application?
Yes, there is one application pending and two in the works.
Cool.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good.
Actually, one application approved, excuse me, and two pending. So we're definitely going to build one this year.
Council, have any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of the resolution as stated.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor? Approved. Discussion and action on a resolution to amend the master fee schedule. No, which one?
I've got to ask about comments.
Oh, did anybody have a comment?
I have is for items 17, 18, and 19.
Okay.
Jennifer's usually pretty good about. Well,
We're at
Going second.
16.
discussion and action, a resolution to amend the master fee schedule.
They don't know that. Just say it. Sorry, do it again.
What are we doing?
16.
Master fees. Approving this resolution will update the following fees. Commercial remodel fee, which is new, $100. Electrical service upgrade, it previously cost what it was cost to upgrade plus 10%. It will just have a flat rate now, $1,250. New electrical service had a previous cost of what it was on cost you plus 10%, flat rate now of $2,500. Contractor brush dump fee, pickup load, which is new, will be $100 when you have a bunch of brush in front of your house. It will now cost $100, correct?
No, this is when if you want to load on yourself
Oh,
over the
it-
weekend, or I'm not the weekend, you want to take it to the brush dump and you're a contractor, there were no fees for that. Contractors could go out there whenever they wanted to dump. Now you have to establish a fee. They'll have to come here to pick up a permit to do such. So if it's a truckload, it's $100. If it's a trailer load, it's 200.
And that's contractor, not.
Contractor only.
Not in front of your house. I'm sorry.
Don't get in spot.
I know, don't get us in trouble. Sorry about that. Misspoke there. You can still put your stuff in front of your house and
Mayor, may I ask the city
we'll
manager?
come get it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert will come get it for you. Go ahead, Mitch.
I forgot.
You forgot.
Robert, any estimate on the number of trips that might now take into account?
Well, the difference there, we'll actually be able to count the number of trips because they've been sneaking in there. And yeah, they didn't know they were the requirements. So we'll measure that going forward.
We'll educate people. Okay.
$2,500 on the electric service fee. Any sense for how that stacks up to surrounding towns?
I do not at this time. Edward may speak to that more, but typically it was cost plus 10%. And there's a lot of paperwork associated evaluating individual. And if you just do a flat rate, that saves his group time and it's competitive. What did you have? Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
Took the words right out of your mouth, huh? All right. Any other questions or I'll entertain a motion?
Here, I move that we approve the amended master fee schedule as presented.
Motion made. All in favor. Approved. Number 17. Do we have somebody signed up to speak on this?
A lot of people signed up to speak.
Discussion?
Privilege break.
You have to pass the yellow paper. Yes. Right, well,
Second, the point of privilege.
oh, we'll go. Anybody else?
I'm just gonna get up more.
Any of your signed up to speak? You ready? I don't care your business if you were doing. All right, guys, here we're back. Thank y'all. Discussion. Discussion and action, discussion and possible action on a resolution to preserve the historic character of Smithville. Councilman Etheridge, take it away.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I'm honored to kind of lead this discussion. Protecting the charm and small town values of Smithville is probably one of the most important responsibilities we as citizens and a council have, both for ourselves and for future generations. This responsibility, I believe, is not just to preserve what we all love about Smithville, but also to position us to be financially sustainable in the future. I believe the city is at a pivotal point and must develop a strategic plan for making the economic pie bigger. If not, then inflation and the cost of maintaining a depreciating infrastructure will continue to put pressure on the pocketbooks of all of our citizens. That strategic plan, in my opinion, should include traditional high-density economic development along Highway 71, balanced with the preservation of small, locally owned businesses on and around Main Street. That would allow us to reap an order of magnitude economic benefit from the high-density development on 71, while also retaining the charm and small-town values. To that end, this agenda item, I think proposing the regulation of formula businesses is both strategic and very timely. Before turning this back to the mayor to open it up for public comment, I want to take this moment to thank Monica Poss. Monica's worked tirelessly on this and is responsible for getting this thing put on the agenda. Hopefully, when it becomes public comment, the mayor will allow her to speak first, because I think she'd be very good at setting the stage for this.
Is it on? Yes, it is. Monica Poss, 705 Hudgens. First, I'd like to thank all of you for giving this a spot on the agenda tonight and allowing us to speak about it. I moved to Smithville about 5 years ago, so I'm one of those pesky newcomers to some. But the things that I love about this town are its small town character, its historic charm, the same things that people who've lived here all their lives appreciate. And in the 5 years that I've been here, I haven't seen us do much to protect that. We talk a lot about the growth that's coming, and it will. Just look at all the housing developments slated around. As the population comes, we'll have more business come. And I do not want to stop businesses from coming to Smithville. We need more tax revenue, and we need it badly. But I do want to try to protect the core, the more original part of our town. And so I've tried to write an intention for the ordinance that I'm hoping you guys will have written that allows for some flexibility. In doing the research on what other towns have done, I looked at towns across the country. Most of the towns I ended up doing deeper research on, there were 5 of them, are roughly the size that we are. Towns of a few thousand people to Aspen, Colorado, which has about 6,000 people, and even Fredericksburg. Fredericksburg has a stricter ordinance than I am proposing here, and they're a town of about 11,000, 12,000 people, I believe. So I'm trying to allow flexibility in what I've introduced. This is not a ban on chain stores, chain restaurants, other formula businesses in our town. What it is it's saying those businesses can locate themselves freely outside of our central area. There is plenty of room down the loop, up 95, along the corridor 71, as Tom mentioned. And then if they do want to locate in our central area, we look at those on a case-by-case basis. So those businesses would still be, a KFC, a Gap, if we ever get big enough to attract a Starbucks, those kinds of businesses. If they want to come to our central area, they present a variance to P&Z, and then City Council asking for a conditional use permit. That allows us to review the merits of that particular business and decide whether it fits with the character of our downtown. It allows citizen comment, whether in the form of emails to the city manager and other council people, or standing up here and speaking like I am and some other people will tonight. It gives us an opportunity to slow down, evaluate it, and decide if it's what we want downtown. So I've tried to write this as flexible as possible while still allowing us to protect what we all say we love, but don't do anything about. Thank you. Do you have any questions for me?
So did you contact the Smithville Historical Preservation Design Standards Advisory Committee, the one that we have in place? You spoke to all of them?
I am the chairman of that committee. And no, I did not run this by HPDS, and I did not run this by P&Z. I believe this is a when a specific ordinance is written, then it may be
it's just a question.
appropriate. No, and it may be appropriate to run it by them. HPDS only oversees a sliver of our town, and this is proposed for a broader area. But this is a bigger policy question than I think needs to be decided at those levels. The details can be recommended at those levels.
Thank you. Go good. Next.
Brandon Durham.
Where's Brandon? Hello, Brandon.
My name is Brandon Dunham, 200 Taylor Street. I think the way Monica put this together is really balanced. You see a lot of discussions about just complete outright bans on this kind of these kind of chain businesses. And you know, I mean, when I was a kid, it was nothing was coming into town. There was absolutely every single thing that would get proposed would get squashed. And to have these kind of policies and checks and balances of people being able to present this business, to go through committees, to allow, you know, things to slow down for constituents to come up, to speak to the council, to vote in favor, to vote against, to hear from local businesses. That's really going to help really shape what is actually on Main Street, what benefits the community. I mean, you look at Bastrop, they're doing a really great job, but whenever you see something like the Art Institute, like that's a marquee kind of institution that's come to the downtown area. And that's the discussion that you want to have. I mean, you don't want to just have that take up the space. And now you just have a facility that's only good, only viable for students to come in. It's not really bringing a lot of people in. It's kind of bringing notoriety to the art scene there, but it's not really adding to the character of that town. So being able to have this little bit of check of a balance, having that tool to be able to review these and not just have a carte blanche approval, as long as they meet all the current variances, that's really going to be a great thing to see.
Next.
Chris Wilkie.
Hello, Mr. Wilkie. Please state.
My name is Chris Wilkie. I live at 903 Charleston Boulevard here in Smithville. I saw this proposal and my first thought was a solution looking for a problem. And if you look at the proposal, it says we don't want to be like a gazillion other towns, meaning have all these businesses downtown that are not related to us. Dear friends, we look like a gazillion other towns now. Our downtown is dying, and that's the bane of small towns. Okay, so it struck me, why would we try to inhibit people coming here, businesses? Franchise chain stores have surveys done. What are the demographics? What's the income? How do we make money? The last I heard, we're not inundated with any of those kind of businesses. McDonald's, you pick one, okay? Just dying to get to Smithville. Why is that? Because how many businesses closed in the last 2 years? Okay. One of the things that I thought was interesting is we want to do this to protect the historical entrepreneurial charm of the central part of our town. I'm not sure about the entrepreneurial charm of 13 businesses boarded up. I'm not sure about the charm of businesses only being open 3 days a week and reduced hours. Tell me again where the charm of that is, okay? Then they say, well, we're going to require the business to get approval of the city council and citizens. Who are the citizens? Where do they come from? Are they people who have lived here all their life? Are they people who have lived here 5 years or maybe 6 years like Monica and I? Okay, so where do those citizens come from? I just don't understand why, given the anemic part of our downtown, where we're dying for tax revenue, that we would do anything to inhibit organizations and businesses coming to downtown. Think about this. 40 seconds, I can do this. Okay, think about this. How many businesses in the last 2 years have closed here in Smithville? And why did they close? They probably closed because they were ran out of money. Well, the good news is large organizations have deep pockets. They have staying power, okay? So I don't see the benefit of having a business come in and they can't support themselves. You know the ones that closed. We all ate there. Their food was good, but they didn't have the power to stay. Anyway, that's just what I'm saying. I want Smithfield to survive. I want Smithfield to do well, but let's don't stand in the way. Thank you.
Practice, like right there. Thank you.
I practiced that all night.
Oh.
No.
Next, I have Nancy Catherman.
I don't like these things. Good evening. I'm going to talk about something a little bit different about this resolution. As many of you know, I have a long history serving with planning and zoning. And also I'm going to read this because those of us that are on this committee, not planning and zoning, but we call it for short, the long name committee. I don't know that I can do that in reading time. And that other committee, just a minute. Oh, this is wonderful. Is the Historic Preservation Design Standards Advisory Committee. Now you know what's called the long name committee. Both of these are the ordinances that we go by came from these. Basically, I'm sorry, I'm very tired. This is late for an old woman. I wanted to know, where did this come from? Ordinances come from the city, usually from the city manager or from planning and zoning or the long name committee. Folks, I've been sitting on both these committees for several years. We've never had any discussion of this plan. None. And by the way, Monica serves on those committees with me. Never have we had it. So my concern is, can just any of us decide to develop a resolution that we want made into an ordinance? No, we can't. Because there's other things. There's things in this. There's not enough information in this for me to have come to a conclusion about how I feel on it. I don't know if it's been vetted by an attorney. It hasn't been through planning and zoning. That's why planning and zoning exists. You heard a long report tonight. Through the years that I've served, we developed many ordinances that involved a lot of research. I don't know anything about this proposed resolution to ordinance. I don't know what the results of an investigation that Monica did showed. What size cities? What kind? Are you going to make me stop? Just for a second. Thank you. Go ahead, but I don't think I'll use it. There's no definition of of the details of what kind of businesses or what criteria is going to be used in saying, we don't want you here. That's it. Just
I appreciate it.
follow the rules, guys. That's all I.
Thank you.
as a city. I think most of you want to build.
Next, I have John Gilkinson.
Good evening, John Gilkison, 400 Gresham, the old schoolhouse. And I saw this on the agenda and it struck me at a very deep level. I'm actually speaking against this proposal, yet I own a very historic property. So I obviously believe in historic preservation. I'm single, for those of you that don't know. I don't drink at Charlie's often, but I'm thinking about it.
Thank you. You're
Well,
you're
the
using up your
reason-
3 minutes.
The reason I'm sharing my marital status is 6 years ago, and it would be 6 years as of April 2nd. I bought the property. I moved out here 5 years ago, and I have decided to make that building and the preservation of that building and the block my legacy. I don't have children. Most of my family have passed on. And so I take that responsibility of the old schoolhouse very deeply. I wanted to share a couple of quick facts, and I'll let council keep me in check. Little loose, but keep me in check. If I understand things correctly, we have a $12 million budget as a city. Approximately $8 million of that budget are fixed, which means there's $4 million for us to spend. You divide that by 4,590 residents, that's $870 per person that this city has to spend. That's less than $100 a month. There are people in this room that manage budgets of that size or larger on an annual basis, a monthly basis, and a weekly basis. In my personal life, I am a chief revenue officer. I'm a chief growth officer. I work with companies and boards on corporate turnarounds. Believe it or not, all the companies think they're different, and they're not. They're structural defects that leads each and every single one of those companies to the exact same place. And most of them, by and large, have a revenue issue. So why am I bringing this up? I'd like to think before you say no to any future growth, that we not try to slow things down. We actually need to speed things up. There is no money in this town. Look at the census data and it would tell you that 65 to 70% of our residents are at or below the poverty level. Okay. Over the last 12 months, over the last 24 months with inflation and everything that's happened in this economy, these people are hurting and this town needs help. And it's not going to come by a horse designed by committee. It will turn out to be a camel. If somebody wants to move to this town, let's have the conversation. Let's have the dialogue. And it would be nice if they had the pockets necessary to revitalize the buildings and make sure that they don't fall down. If you want to preserve this town, you've got a revenue issue and we need money and we need it desperately. Thank you.
Okay. You look like you were coming to the end there, so thank you.
Next, I have Carol Jackson.
Please state your name.
I'm Carol Jackson at 300 4th Avenue. As the city council probably knows, I'm for limited government and as few ordinances and regulations as possible. However, I think when you look at the future of Smithville and our growth, this is something that that is necessary. So I'm just, I'm for it.
Thank you. Next.
Next, I have Steve Simmons.
Steve Simmons, where are you? Oh, come on down.
Steve Simmons, I owned Honey's it goes up? Oh, you want me to do that? Like The Price is Right. Okay, hey, my name is Steve Simmons. Y'all all know me. I own Honey's. I felt like this was the appropriate venue and time and place to explain the demise of Honey's, because Honey's has been around 9 years. It generates between $6,000 and $10,000 a month in sales tax, liquor tax, taxes. We had 18 employees. Last Wednesday, my employees begged me to reopen. And so I contacted the county, because the county had, if you've been on social media, you know that Honey's closed because we had a reinstatement, a renewal fee that had to be paid. The county agreed to renew that. They came and met with me. At the same time, the city sent out their code enforcement officer. And the code enforcement officer said, the county said, as long as the city's good with it, we're good with it. Paid my fee. Anyway, on Friday, the trash issue came up. So last July, after one of Smithville's many festivals, my dumpster got overloaded with vendor trash. Okay, well, I got a bill for $152 for overage. And I contacted the city. I said, look, it's not my trash. They waived it. In October, my trash can got overloaded by a neighbor with his garbage and suitcases and all sorts of crap. And I called the police. The police came out. They said, we can't do anything. It's in the public right of way. I got a bill for $600. I refused to pay it. The city came and got my dumpster. I've been hauling my trash to Lockhart. So on last Friday, after the county approved it and the said I could reopen, the city said I had to pay that $600 fee or I couldn't reopen. So that's the answer of why Honey's is not open. 18 lost jobs, $6,000 to $10,000 a month in sales tax revenue. And if you want to keep businesses, you got to work with them. And I brought 9 years ago, I brought a lot of the businesses that you see here to town. I brought Mickelwaith, I brought Midnight Monkey, I brought, and it was because we were not overregulated. Just keep that in mind moving forward. Thank you.
Dane Garrison. Oh, wait, sorry, that's number 18. Sorry. Bailey Matheson.
State your name and address again, please.
Bailey Matheson, 1000 Nichols Street. I'm just here in support of this. I hate to see local businesses have failed in the downtown area. I'd like to think that it's not that they only lived off of, the locals only, but to have the option for chains or whatever you consider chains to come in and not have to solely live off of what Smithville can offer. They're getting revenue and income from other locations. I think it'd be beneficial for us and beneficial for them to just make the downtown area alive again and have another reason to go down there, except just to go to the bank or go to the post office or the library. But opening it up and having a regulation like Monica has proposed, I think it will just help keep everything, keep the charm and just keep what Smithville needs to be, but also benefiting from the growth. So I support it.
That's it for this item.
Thank you. Council, you have any discussion? Mitch?
Yeah, I've got a quick comment to make before, if my colleagues don't mind, I'll make this short. I think we all probably have things to say about this. This is a complex initiative that's going to require a lot of thought and legal review. I don't see this as an anti-growth initiative, but I've had some extensive conversations with Ms. Poss about this. But I do see this, it's very intriguing to me because this is a concept of adding a tool to the city's toolbox in terms of having an opportunity, a means, and a plan to manage growth. Certainly, we need this growth, and I don't see the intent of this as anti-growth at all. It's more of giving us a tool in the toolkit to manage growth so that we can help influence where new businesses might go. But we certainly don't want to prevent or inhibit any new businesses from coming to town.
First of all, I want to say, Monica took the initiative to put together a resolution. I mean, it takes time. It sounded like you've done some homework and study and you've been here 5 years. And I know you've been very, very active in the community. And so when she mentioned Fredericksburg, I had met the mayor of Fredericksburg, and he told me, I was at a TML conference, and he said, Janice, he said, whatever happens to your little town in Smithville, he said, make sure you manage that growth. And he'd been there almost 20 years. And they do have very restrictive guidelines in Fredericksburg. But I think what Monica was trying to do, and I'm not reading her mind, but I think she's just putting something out there for us to think about, because resolutions take a long time, just like Nancy was saying. I mean, there's a process to go through and do a resolution. I mean, right now you have to put the letters out to the people that are within a 200-foot radius. I mean, there's all these steps that you have to do before this type of resolution can even get passed. So I think this is just a starting point. It's just like one of those draft documents that we can all contribute to and all, have input to. But it's going to take time. And I think just taking that initiative for you to just bring it forward for the public to even discuss, I don't know, it just to sit down at a computer and go, okay, this is what I want to do. I'm sure you've put a lot of thought into this, and I appreciate that. So I am saying, we can't approve anything tonight, but we certainly can start looking at some of these things that Monica has put in this proposal as we move forward. And we're right now starting our new comprehensive plan, so this could be part of that. So we can, thoughtfully think about what we do want to do. And I'm not against growth. I mean, like if a cute little Chipotle or something came in and wanted to come downtown, and they had the facade and it looked really cool and it fit the charm. I mean, that'd be something that then we could all discuss and say, hey, is this something that we would like for our town? There are other towns, other small towns that have brought in formula businesses that actually fit into the facade of the charm and the quaintness of the town. And I've been here now almost 40 years, in and out. I own a few homes here in Smithville. I have an Airbnb in Smithville. And I like the district that she picked out, of course, because, I live in that area. But though we do have charming homes, and we have a fantastic old public schoolhouse that John has taken a lot of care and concern with, and it's like the monument in the middle of the city. And I appreciate you taking care of that property like you do, John. So as we move forward, I think this is a good start. And I just want to thank Monica for bringing it forward and for the comments that were made here tonight.
It's going to sound a lot like editorializing. We're all going to go down the row here and tell you what we think. As is often the case, I agree with a lot of what Janice said. I do see this as a starting point. I think, as Nancy pointed out, there's a process. The proposed 60-day is just not feasible when you think about, kind of how ordinances get created, how they go through processes. You have notification, we have to run it through legal. There's lots of considerations, but I see this as a starting point. I also agree with what John said. I mean, I think in every case, everybody theoretically has a revenue problem. If you can make more money, you can cover up a lot of other things. I believe firmly we do have a revenue problem. I think we need to make the pie bigger, but I also think that we need to be focused also on sustainability, because I've seen too many towns from Pflugerville to Round Rock to Georgetown to Leander to Cedar Park to Kyle to Buda to Dripping Springs. They all get their day in the sun. And as the growth through the corridor gets to that town, they're the fair maiden that day, so to speak. And then it passes them by, and then the next town down the road becomes the new popular. And you're just left with a bunch of old chain stores and nothing really special about you. The reason that I said what I said at the beginning on the setup was I think we're in a unique position. I think Smithville, even though I've only been here about 5 years, I think Smithville kind of died twice. The railroad was kind of one death and it changed the dynamics. The other was when 71 bypassed the town. And so at the time, I know that probably felt like a really bad thing, but I kind of see it in retrospect as a blessing. I think we can potentially have the best of both worlds. We can aggressively create an economic development strategy for 71, an annexation strategy. And that can be the high density traditional development that will generate lots of taxes for our schools, taxes for the city, as well as a lot of customers that will pay for utility bills. But at the same time, concurrently, I'd love to see us find a way to preserve, maybe not the exact same boundary Monica proposed. For me personally, it's maybe a little broad, but certainly on and around Main Street and whatever the community decides is the right overlay. I think we've heard great ideas from a lot of people tonight, and we'll hear some more as we go down. And so at the end, if the colleagues will permit, I do think there's something we can do tonight. It's not approve or vote on the resolution, but it is to do what I think Nancy suggested, which is consider a motion to direct the city staff and the city manager to start the time clock and start a process that develops an ordinance that addresses a lot of the things that people have said. It may not prevent the business that may be ready to go next week or next month, but if we don't start, we've got to do it right. First of all, we have to be thoughtful. We need to be careful we don't end up with unintended consequences because we're making a rash judgment on something that we're very emotional about. Let's think through it. And if it takes us 3 or 4 or 5 months to get something, the community will all have an opportunity to come to a workshop, come to a council meeting, have their say. The lawyers will have their opportunity to vet it through legal. And I'm hopeful that we can do this. I'm really excited about this because I really do think, with all due respect to John, I really do think that we should at least try to create something special on Main Street, and something that when growth passes us by in 3 or 4 or 5 or 7 or 10 years and LaGrange becomes the new it, that we still have a reason people want to come to Smithville, even though we may not be the new kid on the block.
We start talking about historic Smithville and all the things. I'm like a lot of you, I'm a newcomer here. My wife is not. They moved here in the 50s. So I went to her and I said, what was the city like in the 50s when you moved here? Downtown, there was a Western Auto, there was a Wynn's, there were other bigger stores, there were feed stores. Her dad had an International Harvester tractor dealership where there were parts and tractors for sale. It didn't last long when the bypass came up. Okay, a lot of that changed. It did change things. Okay. I'm not against the big box stores. Yeah, we do need to vet them. We do need to find out what we're going to do with them. The other thing, Tom is right. This is not an overnight deal. This is going to take months. Well, legal's going to have to vet it. I would like to see right now to get Jose, get with you, Monica. Let's have a survey that goes out in our mail. It may take 2 or 3 weeks or a month. Let's have the survey and everybody comment on what they have to say, what they'd like to see. Y'all can make up some questions for a survey. Then we get information from the public. The workshops are really good, but a lot of people don't like to come to workshops. But if you mail them a survey, they're going to come in and do it. You also, Jose has these for the survey that just did. By the way, I'm supposed to tell y'all, if you need one of these, just come see us. We have the paper surveys for what's going on now. But we can address this in a logical way that will make our city attractive to growth how we want it to be.
I'd like to make a motion, Mayor. I move the council direct the city staff to work with the city attorney and other appropriate third-party subject matter experts to develop a prospective ordinance to regulate formula businesses, with said prospective ordinance being substantially consistent with the general provisions set forth in the draft resolution presented in tonight's package. The prospective ordinance will be delivered to the council for discussion and public comment at the earliest possible date, but no later than the July 2024 council meeting. Further, the city staff will provide the council with an update on the progress in developing that prospective ordinance at the May council meeting.
I'll second. Made and second. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion is approved. Do you want his motion that he wrote up? Yes.
I've got it here. If you can get it in the record, I'll give it to you.
You'll give it to your record? Okay, perfect. Where are we? Oh, here we go. Discussion and action on a resolution to support voter transportation to the citizens of Smithville during early voting and election day. Anybody signed up to speak?
Person.
Dane Garrison, there you are. Please state your name.
Dane Garrison, 608 Hickory Street, Smithville, Texas. By the way, guys, that's a shiny trophy. I like that. That's fantastic. I couldn't be more proud that you're trying to attract voters and find a way to get them here. 2 years ago when I ran, I believe it was 640 total voters between Cassie and I lost by 31 votes. So by God, I'd have loved to have another 200 come in. I do have a few questions though. Number one, who's going to determine the route? Being a city resource, I would advise only city or community owned landmarks, perhaps city parks, churches, schools to be picked up from. From my understanding as well, this train has many areas that it can't reach. So how do you offer the same fair and equality to all citizens? I feel multiple community pickup areas would be the best to go home to home. There's no possible way with that train as a resource can reach that many homes. I mean, you're talking about an unfair situation for voters. Number two, guys, who's going to be voting on this? If Tom, if you're in this election and Mitch, you're in this election, that it kind of draws an appeal that you guys, your impact could possibly alter the ending vote. I would hate, and this is not from me, whether it benefit you or benefit anybody, for tampering to ever come up on something such a simple matter of just trying to get voters somewhere. This is why it's been frowned upon in many other cities, because the city doesn't want to get involved. They want people to feel free to elect, feel free to vote. It's a freedom. Basically, voting on an action that could possibly alter the results of an election you're currently a candidate is just, it's quite serious. I believe the city should withhold from getting involved at this time. Maybe put together a 6-month to a 1-year plan of attack, and let's readdress this. I think it would be amazing to find a way to get people in and have pickups. But for right now, the resources we have, I don't think it's a good idea. Thank you for your time.
That's all I have for this item.
Council, you have any questions? Comments?
You know that the train, can it cross the tracks by the, on Taylor Street? I don't think it can it?
Point of order,
Can-
Mayor.
Can it? Okay.
May I explain the resolution?
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank-
I mean, I was supposed to lead the,
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Sorry, Janice. Sorry.
thank you. And maybe some of this explanation will help alleviate some of the concerns that Dane might have with it. But I'm excited to propose this resolution on behalf of a group of private citizens who have recognized a need to assist transportationally challenged voters and help drive voter turnout by donating their own time and effort and money to create a program. It's going to be named, I hope that they're here to explain it, something around the in the order of join the drive to 1,000 votes. And historically, in these elections, we have 500 to 800 people turn out. And it's a fairly representative turnout as a percentage of registered voters to other similar sized towns. But one of the, and I really like this tagline, I think Brittany Olvera came up with it, small town, big vote. And would love for us to become a town that votes bigger than it seems. And one of the needs that have been identified is that we do have registered voters who are transportationally challenged and do need rides to vote. There is no political affiliation with this initiative. It is citizen driven. I'm hoping that the sponsors are here. It's Milton's and ATX Lux Rides and Brittany Olvera. Okay. Would any or all of you be willing to come up and speak for two minutes and explain the initiative?
Did they sign up to speak?
Mayor,
I'm asking them to.
Mayor, can I ask a question first? Councilmember Jameson, can I ask a question
Certainly.
about your setup? I want to make sure I understand what is being proposed here. Are we being asked as a council to authorize the rental to a private group of this train, just like we would to any other private group that requests? And if so, why does this come in before the council? Why do we not come to the council before we rent it to anybody?
My motion will include that, because the way, and again, I would hope that they would be able to explain their idea here. It is citizen funded and they have asked to rent the train. There's some verbiage in the rental contract that we would need to amend or suspend for this event.
So when we say rental, is the implication we're not going to charge for this? That's the point.
No, they're paying.
Okay, so my point still stands, which is how is this different than if Joe Smith decides to come and ask Robert if he can rent the train for whatever he wants to do? Why would that not come to the council? I just don't know why we're having to vote on that.
Okay, the current
Private
protocols.
party rental. I'm
Sorry, what?
I'm sorry, I'm just saying for a private party rental. I just want to make sure you understand my question.
Yeah, rental of the Anpal train cannot be used in any way for political reasons. This is to include hanging political signage, shouting from a train, voting preferences, and or taking to and from voting locations. So the existing policy prohibits it, and that's what you're going to entertain this evening, is whether you want to give the one-time waiver for this or, and that's all it is. And it is also asking for support of the drive to 1,000 votes of these organizations who are pulling together to.
Okay,
to,
so has the train
fund
ever
this.
been used for any political function before? Ever been rented by any political? Did Stan Gertis rent it? and
He
use
did.
it? Okay, did it come to the council for us to approve it?
He did not.
Okay.
There was a caveat there that no political signs and were to be on the train and end up being political signs
okay.
on the train.
Okay.
So this is why this policy came out, and there's a lot of feedback on that, and it was just better to avoid that in the future because of past experience.
Have we checked with council about whether, I mean, legal counsel about whether or not, because I want to make sure that we address Mr. Garrison's observations. Have we checked with Jason or anyone about whether?
No, sir.
Okay.
I can certainly do that if you would want me to do so.
Yeah.
I certainly don't want to run afoul of any sort of, voter influence accusations, that's for sure.
Okay.
So my question would be, Mitch, did this organization check with CARTS? Because I know CARTS is local. They're here off the loop, 230. Was there any discussion with CARTS to see what they can do to help with this situation without involving the city?
I don't know. From my understanding, the concept is to make this a local initiative that these citizens wanted to bring forth. The question of the way the contract was worded so that and I don't know when that wording was there, if it was for the previous event involving a candidate from a few elections ago. Was that wording added or was it there in the beginning?
Ashley, help me. Added, thank you.
It was added after the event?
You want to come up to the mic so everybody can hear you?
2 years ago, yes, added, or 3 or however long it's been.
While she's coming up, I do know that carts is in other cities. They do pick up for voters. That's a standard thing. Carts does that. We could involve them, that you could ask them, and all you have to do is get a list and they'll come pick up.
Yeah, and
voters.
I want to applaud the initiative because Mr. O'Neill from ATX Lux Rides is offering his services on demand. And once they explain what's going on here, my understanding is it would, with the help of the city and other, the Chamber of Commerce, hopefully to announce the program, print up flyers in terms of determining a route that the city train would take. And it's only on election day for 4 hours because that's as long as the train can function. With the help, and I think there's been some interaction with some local churches and other places that would certainly like to provide their locations as a pickup and drop off. so that they would run a route with publicized pickup, drop-off locations, bring people that are at those locations during the day and drop them off, let them vote, load them back up, and they go back and make the route. Again, the on-demand element would be offered by ATX Lux Rides throughout early voting and on election day. And I'm hoping that Brittany and Robert at least would come up and explain that, but I'm sorry, we brought Ashley up.
It sounded like y'all had the answer already.
Can't hear you.
No, I was saying it sounded like y'all had the answer already. No, we implemented that after the inquiry the first time of using the train for political usage, even though they would have rented it on their own. It was just the best idea to keep the city anything out of it in order to just stay neutral. Because then obviously if he rents it, then that means no one else can rent it for that time, and then only their voters would have been there, that kind of thing.
They remain neutral as a.
Now, I mean, still anyone, I mean, at one point, I think it was rented for them to just drive around town. But as far as the actual bringing people to vote, we were like, no, that seems too sticky icky for us. So.
Well, I'm
just
inclined to
offered
believe
do
that this is a service that the city should help provide. There is no political affiliation to alleviate any concerns someone might have with this. No candidates are involved in this. There's no political signage, no nothing. Now, the sponsors, I would encourage that they do have signage so that they can promote the service, but there's no political affiliation, signage, or anything related to this. This is not my initiative.
Who wrote the resolution? I think that's who we need to hear from.
I wrote the resolution based on input I received from the 3 private citizens who decided they wanted to propose this.
I'm going to say something here, if you don't mind. If you and I abstain from this vote, we're the only 2 other than the mayor that's involved in an election this next cycle, correct? There's at least 3, so the mayor will not have to vote. And so I think that there's a defensible position to do this, but I would ask that you and I abstain from this vote and let the remaining council members that aren't impacted, if they choose to.
I have no problems with that. I do hope that we let the sponsors come up and explain what it is they're trying to do.
Then they should have signed up to speak then. You want to let them?
You're going to deny because
All right, come on. Tell them back there. Come on. I thought they all signed up.
I canceled. Brittany Olvera, 105 Fifth Avenue. I would have signed up, but I was stuck in traffic because everybody's going home after the eclipse. So 71 was a little backed up today. I'm the one that really came to Mitchell Jamison about this because voting for me is not blue Democrat or red Republican. It's red, white, and blue. It's American. And our second Constitutional Congress voted so that we could become an Americas. And that was each individual vote. What's unique about our history in voting is that a lot of people don't even realize that not everybody could vote. Not all white men could vote until 1870. You had to be a landowner. It wasn't until 1920 that women were allowed to vote. In 1970, we finally had a voter's right to allow people who were blind and disabled to vote. So people that couldn't get around, people that were blind, people that couldn't drive, at one point, they were even giving literacy tests. So now today we live in some of the best freedoms that we have. And what I want to see is our small town get as many people as we can out to vote. And in doing so, we came up with a few ideas that we thought would be fun for the community and fun for the town and the city and the council to get behind, which would be the train for kids to see so that we can start educating children about voting. So I'm willing to buy, I've already got books on order and they're voting books for kids, like when I'm president one day, so kids can learn about the voting process, giving away stickers to kids if they want to ride the train with a parent or guardian that's coming to vote. And then we have citizen businesses, which is Milton's and then ATX Lux Rides, who've come to the table and said this is important to them too. And we're willing to put forth our money and our effort to get it done. So we're not asking the city for anything. The only thing I suggested that I thought would be fantastic, which I think is more of a city thing to do, would be a banner in downtown on Main Street that tells people and reminds them that voting's coming up. And this isn't just a one-time initiative. In my mind, this would be a yearly thing that the city gets behind to get more people registered to vote and more people voting and involved in their community. There's empowerment when people go vote. They feel proud of themselves and they start feeling like they're part of the process. And so that's really what it was about for me. And that's why it was brought to the table with me and a few other people who are passionate about voting. Any questions?
2 weeks out, why didn't you bring this, like you just said, a yearly thing? So why is it we're 2 weeks out and we're just hearing of this?
Well, sometimes we don't always have the luxury of
thank you.
time. Thank you for cutting me off, Ms. Mayor. I appreciate that. Very professional.
So
Available to
can I
comment?
ask- You said,
I'm sorry, Janice.
Brittany, you mentioned Milton's.
Mhm.
What role are they playing?
Financial support for the train.
Okay.
So we're paying for the train. Nobody's asking the city to give us the train or to pay for the rental of the train. We were coming up with the money to rent the train.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh.
You'll sign up.
Yes,
When you
right.
finish speaking, will you state your name and then please sign up?
Point of order, Mayor, can we have quiet
order,
in the audience, please?
Yes, Robert O'Neill, and I live downtown on Main Street, and owner of ATX Lux Rides Transportation. We run shuttle vans and various other vehicles as well. We're here to service the city and hopefully help out anyone that needs transportation to get to the voting polls, you know, in any fashion that we can. I do have a driver, one driver lined up, and with my availability as well, I can assist. So depending on the time of day and the days, it would possibly be 2 vans. It'd be a 12-passenger and or a 15-passenger. So we're able to get the people there safely to pick them up and then return to wherever the points may be. And just so everybody knows too, we are fully licensed, insured, full liability. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And then what else would anybody would like to know or have questions, please ask me.
Sure.
So to be clear, I understand the train rental part of it now. You're just a private business person who's offering to give people rides.
We are a local business located in Smithville. I have an office and yard at 1207 Northeast Loop 230. And we do transportation all throughout Bastrop County, Fayette County, all of the surrounding counties in Austin. But we are helping, giving back to the community because we have a lot of people we do transportation for in the Smithville area and all surrounding. So
Okay, I
we're
mean-
offering our service at no charge
How did
to
you hear
any.
how did you hear about this?
How did I hear about it? Through Brittany?
She called you?
Yes.
Okay.
So, there's no, I'm sorry, I mean to interrupt.
No, nothing political
No,
is involved
I'm just trying to
whatsoever.
understand, there's no agreement between you and the city. The city's not reimbursing you for any time. You're
No.
just here reporting what you're going to offer the community?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's no reimbursement from
I
the
will
city.
add to this, if I may, that a couple of weeks ago, Councilmember Jamerson came to me regarding the usage of the train. And due to the existing policy and protocols, it would have to come to council for you to approve that because that's what the requirements are. So I recommended to Councilmember Jamerson, hey, Robert O'Neill has ATX Lux Rides and possibly utilize him to achieve the goals of the drive to 1,000, correct?
Thank you for adding that. It was the city manager's idea to involve and approach ATX Lux Rides as an addendum or an addition to or an alternative to it. Thank you.
Okay, Council and Mayor, if Councilmember Jameson and Etheridge are going to abstain, you have to make the decision of whether or not you want to waive the existing policy and protocol to allow the drive to 1,000 votes to utilize the train on Saturday, the 4th of May. That's what's before you.
I have a motion prepared, but obviously if I'm going to abstain, I guess I can't make the motion.
Be really clear. I don't want you to think, I mean, I didn't mean to imply that I expected you to. I'm going to personally, I just was doing the math so everyone understood that that is one of the possibilities, is to have people in the race not vote. I'm not suggesting that I think you should or asking you to. I'm going to abstain only because I want to do it out of an abundance of caution. I think it's great. I think everybody in this room and everybody up here wants higher voter turnout. Okay. That is not what is being challenged here. I just don't want there to be any perception of impropriety. So for me, I'm just not willing to vote on it.
Now, I appreciate the thoughts and I hope there's not any implication that there is any impropriety intended here. I'm sensing an underlying current. If I don't make the motion, I'm going to have to ask one of my colleagues to make the motion. And now I'm putting them in a difficult position because I guess if you move, you don't have to vote for it. Or there could be a motion to deny.
Point, and I'll ask Jennifer to correct me if I'm wrong. Simply making a motion or seconding a motion doesn't obligate you to vote on the motion. It doesn't obligate you to vote for it or against it. It only signifies that you think that the issue is worthy of consideration and debate. That's all. So I don't see anything wrong with you making the motion and not voting or abstaining. It's just a way to get a show of hands up or down from those that vote as to whether they agree or not.
Before you make the motion, I just want to make one point and make sure we all understand this as a council. This is setting precedent if we do that. This is a thing that I agree with. We're setting precedent by doing it.
Setting precedent.
Set
what?
precedent by allowing and moving that we forgive what somebody else we enacted because the city had whoever it was, we enacted this so we wouldn't have this happen.
Councilmember Jenkins, just to be clear, you're only referencing that it sets a precedent, the outcome of the vote, not a precedence for Robert's Rules of Order that someone can make a motion.
This is a precedent about what's going on. We've set these rules and regulations in place. If we say we don't have to do them here, then we have to, anybody can come up and say, well, I want it, and I don't want to have to do what you say. So that is my
You want to come
problem.
speak? No, you come up, please, and then you'll sign another.
So my comment is this, my education is political science, political theory. I'm very passionate about the political process. I don't think under any situation I would want to deny the people the right to vote. So I'm just want to put that preface out there. I'll share that in 2016, the state of South Carolina spent $840,000 in 1 year promoting registration for rural areas for those that did not have a photo ID and a driver's license. The state would come and pick you up. They would take you to a state facility so that they could issue you an ID. After 365 days, $843,000, 7 people took advantage of the program. The reason why I'm mentioning this is I'd like to understand the manner and extent to which transportation to a polling place is an issue inside Smithville. And I would counsel that you don't want to set precedent. And these are things that you don't want to be involved in. I just, what problem are we trying to solve? Is there an outcry of transportation to the polling places? Is that an issue? Because we're stepping over that line of precedent, and I think that that's incredibly dangerous. And it's not really an amount of money that's being spent. It's just the precedent. And what problem are we trying to solve here? That's it. I'm sorry.
Will you just sign a piece of paper so we stay? Thank you. Okay, well, never mind. You're never, okay. What are we gonna do?
if we're allowing people to speak, is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? Okay, Mayor, I would like to make a motion.
Okay.
I move to approve the resolution and direct the city manager and staff to allocate resources for promotion via community engagement and printing and hanging of a banner on Main Street and Loop 230 during early voting and on election day, and to amend the train rental agreement verbiage regarding not taking riders to and from voting locations for the purpose of this specific event.
No second, so motion dies. Move on to the next item, or what are we gonna do? We're gonna move on to the next item. Let's see, we're on number 19, discussion and action on allotting money to the Smithville Community Gardens and the Smithville Garden Club from the Recycling Center revenue. Councilman Jenkins, please lead us in this.
I want to stress this. I consider the community gardens a part of our recycling program. They do composting. Their whole slogan is recycle, reuse, remake. That is how they approach everything that they do. That is one reason why I definitely wanted to move forward with giving them a little bit of money. They do not get any support from the city other than that their utilities are paid. Anything that happens is outside donations and things like that. I think Keep Smithville Beautiful may give them a little bit of money, but they have gardens, they have programs for children. They have the composting. This is where we're going to have our classes, and this is where later on we're going to start trying to teach more composting classes. We're going to have the materials from the lady that's coming in. As for Smithville Gardens, they maintain a lot of the gardens around this town. They've built them in front of the rec center. They maintain those. They perpetuate planting plants that come back every year. Okay, that's about the best recycling I can think about. You plant something and it grows back every year. I think it's important that we support these. I know that there are people who say, no, all of this money was to offset what was happening at our recycle center. Well, it is, but this is part to me of our recycling.
I agree, and I appreciate the young ladies that go up and down the street trimming the plants and repotting them, fertilizing them. I don't know their names, but we will learn the names. So thank you, community, the Garden Club. And if you were here at Jamboree, they were our lead float, and they were beautiful. It was a beautiful float. So spring forward, as they say. Anybody signed up to speak?
Yes, I have Brandon Denham.
Hey, Brandon.
Brandon Dunham, 200 Taylor Street. I've spoken in opposition of this. This isn't anything against community gardens or the garden club or anything like that. They're great assets to the community. I live just down the street from one of their properties as well too, and it's a great place to drive by and also stop by on my walks through the neighborhood as well too. But the recycling center, if there was an argument that we could reduce fees by reducing the amount of waste that is being generated, those are great arguments to have. But if we're going to be maintaining the exact same cost on the waste management side of things, if that's not going to be calculated into future agreements, then why are we continuing to burden the population with additional fees? People that want to be able to use that center that are lower income, why not reduce the fees in generals? Why not have vouchers? These kind of things are things that need to be taken into consideration. This was a very, very controversial decision. And now to just be completely alienating that population and saying we're going to be spending the money and sending it over here to these groups that are doing great things. They're aiding the city, and I'm not diminishing that at all. But there's a bunch of private investors that can come in, or private citizens that can come in and donate whenever they want, how they want. They are running on donations. More awareness of those would be great as well too.
Are you about finished?
Oh, did it sing? Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Oh, what am I hearing?
Yeah, yeah, no, you're good.
I thought, well, that was short.
But I mean, yes, that is about it. Those groups are great, but reducing the fee or providing not lower income people that are below these certain thresholds, whether it's a poverty line, whether it's another figure that is determined otherwise, that they're given vouchers instead. Those are great options to consider, but just to give the money to some other nonprofit, that is very a difficult pill to swallow.
Thank you. Anyone else signed up?
Robert Patello.
Hi, Robert. Will you state your name, please?
It's Robert Patillo, not Patillo.
Okay.
It is Robert Patillo, not Patillo. Okay. Okay, so my name is Robert Patillo. I live at 606 Short Street. I'm a big supporter of the Garden Club. I have done stuff for them, and I will continue to do stuff for the Garden Center. But to set a precedent by giving city funds specifically to do that without having some sort of a third-party commission or organization or something like that sounds a little unethical to me, especially when you've got fees on the garbage that are not related to garbage or to recycling. Those need to be, that fee needs to be eliminated from the fee. This would be, if you want to take some of the recycling money that you're doing for that to reduce that fee, I'm all for that, and so are a lot of other people. But if you're going to just give that money to a non-government organization, there needs to be a better formula for it than what you're trying to propose here. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do I have any questions?
I have a comment.
Go ahead. I'm off. Wait.
First of all, I want to applaud the work that Councilman Jenkins and Councilman Washington have done in terms of putting together this program and creating the membership process. And it certainly has already exceeded expectations with almost 450 people signed up and some $30,000 plus generated. However, what we said that we wanted to do was collect that money to offset the deficit that was being run by the recycling program. So I'm inclined not to be in favor of having any of those funds applied to anything other than offsetting that deficit.
I do support the Smithville Community Gardens, and there's several non-for-profits in town. In fact, there's about 140 non-for-profits in Smithville. And I'm going to have to concur with my colleague Mitch, because we were trying to raise the money for the recycle center to reduce the deficit. Now, there's some other opportunities, I think, that the gardens possibly could go for, would be the Born Again Emporium Ministerial Alliance. And I know there's been some other generous funders that are non-for-profit that have given to the gardens, but to take city funding and move it to a non-for-profit, it just doesn't, I don't like it.
I just would be repeating what has been said. I think this is a situation where all the parties, Councilmember Jenkins, Councilmember Washington, and the nonprofit all have done unbelievable stuff. The memory of a difficult budget cycle is still fresh in my mind. And we asked for a lot more from our citizens. And I think this membership was set up, as was mentioned, to offset the losses. And I think it would be disingenuous and optically a nightmare to turn around and take those. We're still in a deficit position and reallocate those. But I do applaud wholly the effort. I think it's been fantastic what Councilmember Jenkins and Washington have done.
Okay, it is apparent that it won't pass, so I see nothing to do but withdraw the motion.
Number 20, discussion and action on awarding the contract for City of Smithfield warehouse expansion. Take it away, Robert.
Okay, council member, we went out for a RFP for a contractor to build a 20 by 50 expansion to the current city warehouse at 1001 MLK Boulevard. We did receive 2 sealed bids. We took those bids and evaluated both contractors on experience, capacity to perform, quality work, so forth and so on. The bid tab is in your packet, as is the proposed contract. The lowest bid came in with RES Construction at $87,517. They did have the highest score at 85 versus the other contractor, which is DA Adams. So it was the decision of the evaluation team to recommend that you provide the contract to RES Construction 66 LLC. Funding for this project was done by residual ARPA and 2002 tax note dollars. And it's going to be to create an office expansion and meeting room for the Public Works Utilities Director staff. Miss anything, Edward? Thank you.
You approve the design of this building? Thank you.
Thank goodness. Okay, I entertain a motion or a question, or what are we gonna do?
Robert.
Anybody sign up to speak? Oh. Go ahead.
You said 2022 residual ARPA,
ARPA funds,
Uh-huh.
round 2.
round 2.
You know, we didn't do the firework thing, so,
Correct.
we came in under with the cemetery, and then there was some residual 2022 tax note items that,
Okay.
that were scheduled for Edward to spend, so he moved those over to his proposed office building.
I do? Somebody? Anybody?
Mayor, I move that we approve awarding the contract for the City of Smithfield warehouse expansion to RES Construction 66 LLC as proposed.
Motion's made in second. All in favor? Approved. Ooh, let's see. Number 21, discussion and action on approval of financial report. Where's Cynthia? It's her favorite time.
Okay. So you have in your packets the financial report ending for March, midway through the year. Basically, if you look, we're at 55% of our revenues, expenses are a little less. So overall, where I expect us to be, general fund still looks really good. Utility fund continually improving. So hopefully by the time the end of the year comes, the utility fund will be on track. The reserves on the general fund look really good at this time, but I expect that to start changing as property tax is now slowing down and your expenses will continue. So it will continue. I don't know if y'all have questions or.
Okay, this is a little off topic. The hot tax dollars that go to the chamber to administer. I know there was a difficult emotional meeting a number of months ago where we talked about whether the management of those, the outsourcing of those should stay, and the council decided they should. But we have a written agreement, and then isn't there supposed to be a budget presented to the council each year for how those dollars are going to be spent? Isn't that one of the requirements of the statute? And if so, that did not happen, I don't think. Can we maybe if it did happen, can we get that represented at the next meeting so we know how those dollars are proposed to be spent?
Yeah, I thought we had one for,
I don't think.
I was.
It
we
happened
just-
budget season, but the update hasn't
Yes.
occurred. So
Yeah.
you're owed a quarterly update.
Yeah, and we just made a quarterly payment. And so in April, and it reminded me I needed to get a financial report. So I was going to request a report for the next April meeting.
yeah,
So
I-
that would
I'm-
be a
I'm-
report of what they've spent to date.
Okay,
but-
I'm drawing on memory without having looked this up, but there's a requirement for a written agreement between the city and the chamber, which I know exists. It's an evergreen. It automatically renews with termination rights. The other is that they present a budget to the city at
The
the
budget.
beginning of the year saying how they're going to spend that money. And then at the end, they present a report showing that they actually spent that money. And I just would ask you to check. I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot. I just don't recall us having been presented by the chamber with a budget for how they're going to spend this year's money so we could approve it. Just check on that and make sure, please.
Yeah, I will. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Cynthia, I noticed this was good news. There were only 362 customers penalized and last month was 414. So we're down 52. And then we had about, I want to say 13 folks sign up to do the weatherization. But I know, the bills dropped, but I did notice, I said, oh my goodness, this is good news. There are not as many being penalized this month.
Yeah. Lower LCR rates and everything this month. So it's that time of the year.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion, we go ahead and approve the budget, the financial report.
Motion made in second, all in favor. Approved. Oh,
Yeah, I did.
okay, one announcement, Hannibal will be at the Silkies on 205 Main Street here in Smithfield. Doors open at 6. Bring your own chair. And this is, where's it at? Oh, it's on April 17th. So there's a flyer laying on the desk here, but if anybody's interested, the flyer's right here, okay?
It's his newest symphony.
Madam Mayor.
So
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
We've got a brilliant community engagement person right now, Jose, who's been here just a short period of time. But if you had a chance to look at his report, he's been very, very busy engaging with the community. So I just want to give a shout out to Jose and say thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you, Jose.
Can I
Anybody?
can
Oh,
I
yes,
make one
please.
comment? I
Okay.
know that my colleague, Miss Bruno, will have her swan song at the next council meeting. And I wanted to take this opportunity, since there's so much kind of excitement and noise around when you change over, I want to take this opportunity to say how much I think she's done for the community during her years of service. I've enjoyed serving on the council with you, and I still find you to be the Energizer Bunny with more energy than anyone I know. You chase more rabbits than anyone that I could have ever known, and your passion and compassion for people is noteworthy. So.
And no, we are adjourned.